What's up, dudes? It's me, Matt, the guy on the other side of the camera normally. I have you guys strapped to my chest all over the US, taking you guys on adventures as a drum tech in the professional world of showbiz. Thank you guys for coming by. I know this is a different style video than what most of you guys are used to seeing from me. A while back, I posted on YouTube, I said, where is it? About 2 weeks ago, I posted on YouTube, I want to do a 10,000 subscriber Q&A video, so please, if you have any questions, post them here, and hopefully I can answer some commonly asked questions about being a drum tech. So that's what we're gonna do today. There's a lot of them. I'm not gonna answer all of them. The main question I get is, how did you become a drum tech? How did you even get into this industry? And I'm gonna save that one for last so that you guys watch the whole video. But you don't have to watch the whole video. I'm going to put chapters and stuff like I always do, so you can skip around and you can get to the questions that you want answers to. So let's just kind of go through these. This question's from Sam Cohen 8546. Congrats on 10K. Thank you. At what point does a drummer decide they need a tech? A drummer decides they need a tech when the band they're playing for can afford a tech. And a lot of bands will start out, they'll have a backline tech, a jack of all trades, let's say. They'll do guitars, they'll do bass, they'll load, they'll do drums, all that stuff. I never did that. I never did too much multitasking. My first gig, I was hired on as a drum tech and a drum tech only, but I helped load and all that stuff now. Now I don't really do any of that. I just kind of only do drum stuff, which is so sick. All right, here's a good one. This one comes from Sean B. Drums. What was the worst situation you've ever had during teching? So I'm not going to say the band's name. We were doing When We Were Young Festival last year, so 2022. I got the gig through a friend I've toured with in the past. They hit me up to see if I was available to do like a string of shows. It wasn't even a full tour or anything, but the last group of shows were When We Were Young. So they asked, hey, are you available to drum tech, and do you know how to do playback? And at the time, I've only seen people do playback. I'd never ran it. And I lied. I told them that I knew how to do playback, that I could totally nail this gig. You know, the whole fake it till you make it thing. I've watched people do playback multiple times. I'm super familiar with Ableton, so I was like, how hard could it be? What's funny is I nailed the playback part. That was fine. But during line check, I had plugged my ears into his pack and I checked the drums. Everything was good. And then I unplugged mine. We do go for show, and he sits down, plugs his in, and I've hit play at this point. And I'm hearing click, I'm hearing everything, and he looks at me across the stage. I'm at playback, so I'm not like right behind him like I am with most of my videos that you guys see. He just looks at me and goes, I'm getting nothing. And I'm like, what? I'm pretty sure he looked at me and just went like this. So I hit stop. They just counted in and played with no click track and no tracks. As soon as they start playing the song, I know I have a pack on and I know mine's working. So I run across the stage and I unplug his and plug his into mine, which isn't playing anything. So he's not going to get some random click in some random part of the song. I go back and he's like giving me the thumbs up, like, yeah, we're good, I can hear now. But yeah, so that was super embarrassing to have the drummer sit down and not have any click track or anything. I still to this day have no idea what went wrong, because I line checked and everything was good. As soon as he sat down, it wasn't good. I didn't know how to troubleshoot that at the time, but they got through it and it was fine. He wasn't upset about it. It wasn't that big of a deal, but it was still super embarrassing and I felt really bad about it. This question comes from Jackson.mp4. Hey Matt, was wondering what your method was for snare tuning. You always get a killer sound. So I get a lot of questions about tuning. Obviously, that's like the main part of my job, but it's hard for me to answer these questions because I don't really have a method. Like, if you guys have watched all my videos, I kind of hop around with methods. I just try new things out. I'm all about experimenting and trying things out just to see what happens, you know what I mean? I just try and find where the drum sounds good, like with my ears. There's a point where a drum starts to sing, and I try and find that on every drum. The way I tune snares, though, is relatively similar throughout the board. I just go real tight on the resonant head. When you do that, you can kind of go wherever you want with the batter head. For example, Maddie with Sleeping with Sirens, he likes a total different sound than Luke does with Falling in Reverse. Luke is more about the feel of the snare. He wants rebound. He does a lot of ghost note stuff. He does a lot of rudiments. He wants that rebound on the snare, and he likes old school gospel chops YouTube videos. Like, that's what he likes, which is funny because that's not what our front of house engineer likes. He likes big fat drums. So if you see them live, you'll hear that the snare sounds really low and beefy, but that's because our front of house engineer is a magician and he pitch shifts the snare drum to make it lower. The higher you go with a snare drum, the less body you're gonna get. So he wants body, so he pitches the snare down from front of house, which is really interesting. I'd never experienced that before. Here's a question from Mario Vico Drums. I'm sorry if I'm saying this wrong. My question is, did you play in a band as a main drummer? If yes, what are the main differences in terms of stress? How do you manage it? Hugs from Barcelona. Yo, I love Barcelona, dude. I've been there many times, man. I started my career as a drummer in bands. I didn't start my career as a tech. I played for a band called City in the Sea for a long time. Well, not a long time, probably about a year. That was like the beginning of my touring career. We weren't a big band. We were signed to Sumerian Records, but we couldn't afford techs or anything like that. So I was my own tech, and that's basically how I learned to tech, was for teching for myself, which stress levels are very low in that situation because it's all on you and you're just kind of pleasing yourself. You tune drums how you like, and if you're having a bad day or you don't have time, like, you can get away with not getting your drums sounding or looking perfect. You know what I mean? It's great because you get to experiment as much as you want when you're teching yourself, because you can't let anybody down but yourself in that position. What are the main differences in terms of stress? Well, like I just said, when you're teching yourself and playing in a band, there's not really any stress. I was stressed in different ways because I was broke as hell, but when it comes to the drums and my performance, there's like very, very low levels of stress. And I would say even now, like, I'm responsible for honestly, I mean, we can all agree that Luke is one of the biggest drummers in the world. He's one of the best drummers in the world as well, but I've also known him for so long that he's just my boy, you know what I mean? And he trusts me. So it's really, really low stress levels. When I did the Sleeping with Sirens gig, when I'm doing playback and stuff like that, it's a little more stressful because if something goes wrong with the playback rig, that's a whole other can of worms. That's a whole different troubleshooting routine that affects the show drastically if something goes wrong with playback. I would say playback could be possibly one of the most stressful jobs. But yeah, I mean, I have no stress on the road with Falling in Reverse. I'm totally confident in my ability to take care of drums, so it's really nothing for me. I'm just doing what I've done for 23 years, which is tuning drums, cleaning drums, playing drums. It's second nature to me, man. It's really, I don't stress about it at all, bro. Here's a question from Louis Reen 2633. Do you usually learn the drum parts of the bands you work with? I mean, over time, it's impossible not to learn them because you watch them every night. But I would think Falling in Reverse is the only drum tech gig where I was asked if I could learn the set. That was because it was right after the pandemic and we didn't know how touring was gonna go. We didn't know if stuff was gonna get shut down or if someone could get the sickness, because at the time, if someone got it, they had to go to a hotel for 10 days or something like that. So in the chance that the drummer got the sickness, I was asked to learn the set to keep the show going. But no other gigs I've ever done have asked me to learn the songs or anything like that. For Luke in the past, I have filled in for him. There was a time where he broke his foot and I had like 6 hours. This is when he was playing for the Word Alive. I had like 6 hours to learn the set, but I'd been teching for him for a while already, so I already knew the songs from watching him. I did about 2 weeks of that tour where I played in his place, and then he had some other times where I filled in for him where he went to try out for other bands. I just filled the gap on the spot, but those songs were much harder. The Word Alive songs are much harder. Way more technical, because those are songs where he wrote drums. This is a question from Sayapekita 7862. Can you tell us about your work history, your first band you worked with until now? Let's go back a little farther. In 2012, I got hit up by a band called The Word Alive to record drums on their second album. Their drummer had left. The album's called Life Cycles, if you guys want to check it out. But I got the call with like a couple days notice, and I just said yes. Like, of course, I'll do it. This is my foot in to the professional world. So I rode with them in a van all the way to Indiana. We recorded with a producer named Joey Sturges. I learned 22 songs, tapping on my laps and tapping my feet on the floor of the van. That was my first paid gig in the music industry was recording that album. Oh, and then after that, that's when they hired Luke to play drums. They were going on Warped Tour in 2014. That's when Luke hit me up to drum tech for him. He knew that I played on the album. He knew I was a capable drummer. I joined the Vans Warped Tour with The Word Alive in 2014 for $300 a week. That is where I learned a lot. Getting thrown in to Warped Tour with a bunch of people that know what they're doing, and you get pulled in as just like somebody's friend, you get whipped into shape real quick, man. It's a cutthroat industry, but it's also like a super fun industry. Fast pace. Everybody's relying on you to do your job. You need to get through everything on your own. You need to figure out your shit on your own, and you can't be putting your issues on other people. Everybody is responsible for their part of the show. Yeah, it's pretty cutthroat, but I like that. I like that a lot. I like not having to worry about anyone else doing their job. That's why I love the Falling in Reverse camp. I can count on everybody. I know I don't have to fill gaps. Everybody's a pro, and I know everybody's gonna get their shit done. I'm going on tangents here, man. But yeah, so I drum teched for Luke from 2014 to about 2016, 2017. He quit the band, and then the band asked me to join. So that's when I started playing for The Word Alive. I played for The Word Alive from 2017 to 2020. In 2021, Luke hit me up again to drum tech for him for Falling in Reverse, and I said yes. I'm 35 now, and that was the first time I ever made adult money doing what I've been trying to do my whole life. Like, I started touring when I was 24, and I didn't make a legitimate living until I was 33 years old. All of you guys out there that want to do this stuff, like, it's not easy. It's hard. There's a lot of trial and tribulation that goes into it. Some people get lucky and they get right in their foot into the door into something big right away, but it took me a long time, man, and I had to work a lot of jobs in between tours and whatnot, and struggle. But now I don't have to really do anything in between tours. I just kind of hang out and do whatever I want, and then when the tour comes up, I go and come home and hang out again. I just repeat that process. It's actually fantastic. I love what I do, man. Really dig the videos, Matt. I was curious how many other bands, full sets or even partial sets, you see while on tour. I never watch any bands when I'm on tour, man. As soon as I'm done, I'm gone, dude. As soon as my drum boat goes into the truck, I'm on the bus or on my way back to my hotel. I'm not hanging around getting any more ear damage than I need. This question's from Sean or C Nora. What? Sean or a again. Dude, what? Anyways, what aspects of being a drum tech are you still learning? Or what areas of the job would you like to improve on? Dude, I'm learning every day, man. Every day I'm in a new environment. This DW kit, although beautiful, is one of the hardest drum sets I've ever had to tune in my entire life. I don't know what it is, but it's the most inconsistent drum set I've ever worked with. Besides the snare. The snare is super easy, but the rack tom, bro, that thing makes me question whether or not I should even be in the building almost every day. And I don't understand why. I don't know what's going on with it, but every day is a struggle with that kit. Every single day. I'm always trying to improve on tuning, being efficient with tuning, especially because you're under a time constraint a lot of the time, especially right now because we're currently on the Avenged Sevenfold tour, and we are direct support, meaning we play right before Avenged Sevenfold. We usually don't have that much time. We usually unload the truck around 3 or 4 o'clock, and doors are at like 5 or 5:30, so everything has to move quick once I get out of there. I can always improve on being efficient with tuning, especially with toms, man. My biggest weakness is tuning toms. You can go through some of my videos and you could tell when I'm having a good day or a bad day. Just go listen to the toms, man. This is probably the second most asked question other than how did you become a drum tech? And that is, why don't you use a drill when you change heads? Bro, there's 3 drums. There's 3. Plus, I like to feel the drum. I like to use my hands. I don't like the drill. You know, if I was teching for Slipknot, you bet your ass I'm going to use a drill. But, dude, for 3 drums, come on, man. Hosiern asks, how did you learn to tune the drums well enough to get hired to do it as a profession? Just time. I've done it for a long time. I have 5 drum sets at home. I've played hundreds of drum sets all over the world, from terrible backline kits in India and South America and China to, beautiful top of the line DWs, Thomas, Pearls, all that stuff, man. Most drummers I work with in the rock world like their drums low and thuddy, so I try to tune them to as low as they'll go with some sustain. Like Luke doesn't like a lot of sustain. He likes, when I try and explain this to people, I'm like, he wants his toms to sound like kick drums. Even his 12-inch rack tom, he wants it to sound like a 12-inch kick drum, and then his floor tom to sound like a kick drum as well. So that's why I always have a lot of muffling on the drums. People are always like, oh, you gotta use all these moon gels because you can't tune. It's like, no, bro. some of you guys in the comments, man, oh my god, well, can't tune, he's using muffling. Bro, shut the hell up, dude. What advice would you give someone who also wants to be a drum tech? Like I said, man, you gotta get out there. You gotta play in local bands, get involved in the local scene, get a job at your local venue, doing whatever. And then, be cool, make friends with people, don't be a punisher. One of the best things you can be in this industry is a good hang. You could be the best at tuning drums in the world. You could be in the Guinness Book of World Records. Like, most drum sets tuned in an hour, tuned impeccably. But if you suck as a person, nobody is going to hire you. Nobody will want you living with them on a bus. You know what I'm saying? You got to be a good hang, and you got to be responsible. Also, if you like to party and drink and stuff, lose that shit. You're not going to make it in the big leagues if you're messing around like that. Like, I got my fair share of partying in when I was a youngin' and I first started touring, but the stakes weren't high. The stakes are high at this level, and shit needs to go right. So you can't be messing around doing stupid stuff. You gotta be a responsible adult out here. Ooh, here's the good one. In your opinion, what is the most frustrating part about being a drum tech? The most frustrating part about being drum tech is that I don't get to play drums like ever. Like, imagine yourself, you've been on tour for a month, you're a guitar tech, and there's peace and quiet on the stage, and out of nowhere, the drum tech starts ripping on the drums, playing at full volume. Imagine how annoying that would be. Going back to being efficient with tuning and stuff like that, being a drum tech is tuning the drums as good as you can with hitting the drums a minimal amount of times. Like, I don't want to annoy anybody. I don't want to step on anyone's toes. If I hit the drum once and it sounds good, I'm not touching it. I'm leaving it. Boom. It goes with everything. I try and tune as fast as I can without annoying people, because nothing's more annoying than just hitting a snare drum over and over and over and over and over and over and over at full volume. So that's frustrating, is that I can't even really play the drums as a drum tech. And I get to work with a lot of beautiful kits that I would love to just rip on for a while, but that's you don't do that. This question comes from Gauge Drums 08. Does the band cover the travel costs, such as food and to get to meet up with the camp for tour? Yeah, they pay for all that. On this current tour right now, we have catering on this, and that is all included in the tour budget. I basically eat for free every day, but we also get per diem every day, which is to go to food and stuff like that. But I haven't paid for a flight since like 2012. I have my own hotel room right now. I'm in Dallas. None of this comes out of my wallet at all. All this is paid for. It's all work expenses. A lot of stuff is tax write-offs. I'm learning that as I'm getting more into the professional world. All that stuff is covered by the bands that I work for. User DN. Okay, this guy might have been banned from YouTube since he wrote this comment. Can you talk about hearing protection in a big festival environment? How much of the time do you wear hearing protection? This is something I've started taking serious in like the last 5 years. It's so loud on stage all the time, and I want to protect my ears as much as I can. I've probably destroyed them already from my earlier days in touring. I can't stress how important it is to protect your ears, man, because this is the music business, and if you can't hear, you're fucked, bro. You're fucked. You got to go get a new job. Heroes are what I used for a long time, but I just use my in-ears now because I have them on me. So I have them hanging over my ears all day, and then when I go to the stage, I just plop them in to protect my ears. And if someone's trying to talk to me, I just pull one out, But I try and keep my ears protected at all times. Someone's question reminded me of this question. How often do I change heads? I'll change the snare drum head every other show, and I'll change toms every 3 shows usually, unless the drummer wants them done more or less. Like this tour, Luke wanted me to do it less. So I'm going like 3 or 4 shows with the toms, maybe 3 per snare. I go off my own judgment a lot of time. Like I said, he trusts me to make these decisions. And then kick drum, I've been getting this question about the kick drum a lot. Like, how often do I change kick drum heads? I change kick drum heads. I'll put a fresh one on at the beginning of the tour, and I'll change it out halfway through. And that's about it. Ooh, this is a deep question. I don't know if I can answer this. Elder Martin 130 asks, do you consider your job as a long-term career? Like, will you work as a tech until retirement? I haven't thought that far ahead, bro, to be honest with you. I never ever had any plans to tour when I was young and I was playing drums 8 hours a day in high school and middle school and stuff. I grew up in a small town, man. Like, I never ever had any thought that I would be doing this as a job. Like I said, man, it was all an accident. I just met people. Maybe it was good that I was playing by myself for the first 8 years of playing drums. I just honed my craft and I didn't even know I was doing it, and here I am. So a long-term career, I think so, man. I think that I will work with drums in some way for the rest of my life. I've made it to a point where I make legitimate income, especially with YouTube doing really well, even though I can't monetize right now. I think with a mix of working with drums and content creation, I could very easily do this for the rest of my life. No problem. And I might actually be able to retire. Who knows? Foo Drummer 94 asks, what's the easiest way to make a touring drummer happy? Dude, okay, the best way to make a drummer happy is to just have everything ready before they even ask for it. Like, Luke has a practice kit now. I set it up every day. He'll text me, hey, is the practice kit up? And I'm like, you know it, dude, of course. I'm at the point with Luke where he doesn't have to think about any of that stuff anymore, I hope. And Luke, if you're watching this, just let me know. Let me know if I'm lacking in any way, please. How much do you get paid to drum tech? Well, my first gig was $300 a week, and that was Warped Tour 2014. I get paid much more than that now. I'm not going to tell you how much I make, but I make enough, man. I make enough to live in 2023 and still have money to have fun and buy cool things. This question comes from Hunter Powers 681. What did it take to become a drum tech, and how did you get the opportunity to tech for these bands and make this a career? Dude, guys, this is the number one question I get. How do you get into this industry? How did you become a drum tech? How did you get the opportunity to be working with these big bands? You guys are not gonna like this answer, because I don't know of any other way. I had someone DM me the other day, and if you've DM'd me and I haven't answered, I'm sorry. Ever since I put up that first video, my DMs have exploded, and there's absolutely no way I can get to everybody. Somebody asked, what school did I go to learn how to drum tech? And I was blown away by this question. No offense if you're watching this. I had no idea that people thought that you could go to school for this. Can you go to school for this? I don't think you can. For being a drum tech? No. Let me know. Is there a drum tech school? If there is, I have no idea. I didn't go to school for this. The only way to get into this industry is knowing somebody. That's it. That's it. And this is going to crush some of you guys. But you can get into the industry in other ways, and if you're a drummer, you will eventually be able to sneak your way into drum teching. What you need to do is you need to get a job as a hand at a venue, and you got to be cool. You can't be what we call as a punisher, where you're going around and you're asking questions about the band and you're trying to find the artists and talk to them, and you need to be professional, and you need to just get stuff done without bothering anybody and not getting in anybody's way. You got to realize that the people on the tour probably were up until 3 a.m. last night loading out, and the last thing they want to do is explain. You're going to get some cool guys every now and then that don't mind, and they're happy to chat with you and stuff. But for the most part, just be cool. If you're going to ask questions, ask, how can I help? Can I do anything to help you? That type of thing. You don't want to punish and overstay your welcome. But my advice would be you get a job at a venue as a hand. You're going to be pushing gear. You're going to be doing all the hard work that nobody wants to do, but that's just how it goes. If you want to get into the industry in other ways, you can go into like audio engineering, doing monitors, doing front of house. You can be an audio tech. You can be a rigger, video wall stuff, lighting. There's all this type of stuff, and that stuff you can go to school for. A backline tech, someone that like guitar techs or drum techs, like what I do. I worked with the Word Alive. Luke Holland ended up playing for the Word Alive. That's how I got this gig. is I just knew. I knew people. You know, not to toot my own horn, but I was a good drummer. I'm a pretty chill dude. I don't cause any issues. I don't have a drinking problem. I don't party. I'm dependable. I'm on time. I had a real job, like a normal job for a long time. So the transition to this, it hardly feels like a job to me because I'm just doing what I've always done, which is messing with the drums. So yeah, that answer is probably going to bum a lot of you guys out because you're like, how am I going to meet somebody in the industry? I don't know, but if you put yourself out there playing in local bands and stuff like that, like eventually someone in your scene is going to end up in a touring band, and if you're a cool person and a fun hang, then there's a good chance that someday they might hit you up to tech for them or something like that, you know? That's how every backline tech I've ever met was friends with someone that was in a band and their band took off and they got the call. Like, I know there's a bunch of techs out there that watch my videos. Maybe you guys could chime in on how you got into the industry, because this is my personal experience, and all the people I know, they have similar experiences. They just knew somebody in the industry, man, and it was an accident. Me being here was an accident. If you guys enjoy this video, let me know in the comments. Like the video if you feel so inclined. But anyways, stay tuned for some more drum tech POVs. Let me know if you guys like this style of video at all. A lot of you guys asked for tuning tutorials, which I think is probably the most boring thing I could do. But if that's something you guys want, maybe I can make it a fun, interesting video. But thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for watching the videos, man. The views are crazy. I think almost all the videos are at over 100,000 views, or very close to being on their way over 100,000 views. So it feels really good to be doing this for so long, and finally something is hitting and resonating with you guys. It's really, really cool. And all the great things you guys say in the comments, honestly, there's very minimal negativity in there, which is so awesome. So thank you for that as well. But yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. I think the next video will be some arena in Portland. I can't remember the name of the arena, but it'll be either that or Tacoma Dome in Tacoma, Washington. Thank you guys for watching again, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye. See ya. Go learn something about drums. Get out of here. Bye.